If this is you, sitting there in silence, replaying every conversation, every message, every moment wondering where it went wrong, then listen closely. Maybe this feels familiar. You pulled back because you didn't want to chase. She pulled back because she didn't know what she wanted. And now you're stuck in this heavy space, this silence, where you're trying to figure out if she's gone forever or if there's still a way back. You keep checking your phone. You keep asking yourself if she's thinking about you. You wonder if the distance means she's moved on or if she's actually waiting for you to make a move. And deep down, you're fighting two voices, one telling you to reach out and the other telling you to stay strong and hold your frame. If this is you, understand something. This silence isn't just painful, it's revealing. It's revealing your attachment, your fear of loss, your desire for control, your urge to fix something that might not even be broken. Here's the truth most men never realize. Silence can make her come back stronger than any message you could send. Silence can reset the dynamic. Silence can rebuild the respect she lost when things started falling apart. Right now, you're not trying to win her back. You're trying to win yourself back. Your stability, your logic, your sense of masculine grounding. Because when a man is whole again, when he's not chasing validation, when he's not emotionally flooding himself just because she pulled away, that's when she starts to notice the difference. That's when she starts to wonder, did he change? Did he shift? Did he finally step into his power? And that's when the dynamic flips. But before any of that happens, you need to understand something crucial. In this silence, while you're overthinking, what is she actually feeling? What does this distance trigger in her mind and her emotions? Let's break that down. When a woman pulls back, most men assume she's done, but in reality, silence triggers far more emotions in her than she'll ever admit out loud. Because the moment you stop reaching out, the moment you stop validating, the moment you stop filling the space with your effort, she finally has room to feel the impact of your absence. And here's what happens. At first, she feels relief. Relief because the pressure is gone. Relief because the dynamic resets. Relief because she finally gets to breathe. But then something else starts to kick in. Something subtle. Something she didn't expect. She starts to wonder why you're so quiet. She checks your profile more than you think. She replays old conversations in her head. She asks herself, did I misjudge him? Did he detach? Did he replace me? Did he level up? And here's the part most men never realize. Silence tests her emotional investment. Because whether she meant to or not, she's observing you. She's watching how you respond to distance. She's noticing whether you break frame, whether you beg for reassurance, whether you chase, or whether you stay grounded. That groundedness, that calm masculine energy, that's what makes her start feeling something again. Not desperation, not panic, not neediness, but curiosity, attraction, and respect. See, a woman doesn't come back because you chase her. She comes back because your silence shows her something about you, that you are a man who can regulate himself, a man who doesn't crumble under pressure, a man who doesn't spiral when emotions shift. And as that silence stretches, she begins to feel the weight of losing that energy. She begins to wonder if she misread your heart. She begins to question if pulling away was the right move. This is where the dynamic flips. Not because you forced anything, but because you didn't. Now the real question becomes, how do you maintain that masculine frame when she starts coming back? How do you respond when she reaches out without losing the strength you've built in this silence? Let's break that down next. So now that you know what silence does to her, now that you understand the emotional ripple she feels when you stop chasing, let's talk about you. Because a woman doesn't come back just because she misses you. She comes back because the man she remembers feels different when she returns. And this is where a high-value, grounded man separates himself. This is what he understands. He knows that silence isn't a tactic, it's a recalibration, a moment to reclaim his emotional center, a moment to step back into his masculine discipline, not to manipulate her, but to stabilize himself. He understands that a woman responds to presence, not pressure. So instead of blowing up her phone, instead of trying to fix the or spiraling, that's when she starts leaning in again, because now she's responding to your presence, not your pressure. Now the question becomes, when she comes back into your life, How do you respond in a way that strengthens the connection instead of repeating old patterns? Let's break that down next. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Because sometimes the clearest lessons come from moments you've already lived. Picture this. You're sitting in your room late at night. The lights are dim. Your phone is face down on the table. And even though you're trying to stay grounded, there's this small voice in your head saying, "Why hasn't she checked on me? Does she even care?" It's the moment most men break frame. That's where they fold. Type out a paragraph, delete it, type it again, and finally hit send out of pure anxiety. But the grounded man, he feels that same tension. He hears that same inner voice. He just doesn't react to it. He breathes. He sits with it. He lets that urge pass like a wave rolling through him. This is what he understands. The story happening inside him is not the reality happening outside. Another example, you're in the gym, you're mid-set, and for a moment between reps, your mind drifts to her. You remember the last conversation, the tone of her voice, the slight distance, the way she seemed half in, half out. And right there, holding those dumbbells, you have a choice. You can let that memory drain your energy, or you can channel it into the discipline you're building. And the high-value man? He pushes the next rep, not because he's trying to look strong, but because he refuses to let emotions dictate the direction of his life. One more. You're out with friends. Maybe it's a cafe, the noise of people talking, cups clinking, and suddenly your phone lights up, not her, just some random notification. And for a moment, your chest tightens. That split second reveals how attached you really are. But instead of spiraling, you tell yourself, "I'm here. I'm present. My life doesn't stop because someone pulled away." That's presence. That's masculine grounding. That's the energy she feels, even from a distance. And here's the twist. While you're living these moments, while you're rebuilding your strength quietly, she's living a different story. She's scrolling through old pictures, wondering why you haven't reached out. She's replaying inside jokes. She's noticing the silence. She's feeling the space you created, and she's feeling the difference in you. These are the moments that shift everything. Moments that make her think, did he detach? Did he grow? Did he move on? Did he become the man I always knew he could be? And now, as that curiosity builds in her, the next question becomes simple. When she finally reaches out, what energy do you respond with? Because that moment can rebuild the connection or destroy it completely. Let's break that down next. Before we talk about how to respond when she comes back, you need to clear out a couple of false beliefs that silently sabotage you. Beliefs that most men never question, beliefs that keep them stuck, chasing, or confused. Here's the first one. False belief first. If I don't reach out, she'll forget about me. No, she won't. People don't forget presence. What they forget is chaos, neediness, and emotional pressure, not calm masculine energy. If anything, silence actually makes her remember you more intensely because now she's feeling the contrast between who you were and who you're becoming. Here's a punchy truth you can put on a reel. A man isn't forgotten when he's silent. He's remembered differently. Another belief men carry, false belief. Second, her emotions are a sign I did something wrong. No, her emotions are just that, her emotions. Women feel, fluctuate, pull back, lean forward, not because you're flawed, but because emotional movement is part of how they process connection. You can be the best man in the room, and she may still need space. That's not a failure. That's her rhythm. And a grounded man respects rhythm instead of trying to control it. Another real worthy line, her emotions aren't your job. Your stability is. And here's one more subtle belief men fall into. False belief. Third, if she pulled away, it means she lost interest. Not necessarily. Often, distance is a test she doesn't even realize she's creating. A test to see if the connection is strong, or if you collapse when things get uncertain. Women don't only test with their words. Sometimes they test with their silence. Put this one on a thumbnail if you want. She isn't testing you to break you. She's testing you to see if you can lead. None of these realizations are meant to shame you. They're meant to free you. Because when you drop these old beliefs, you start seeing the situation with clarity. Not panic, not desperation, not self-doubt. And that clarity is exactly what she feels when she starts to lean back into your life. Which brings us to the next part. When she finally reaches out, what should your energy look like? How do you respond in a way that rebuilds connection without losing your masculine grounding? Let's break that down next. Now that you've cleared those old beliefs, let's talk about why detachment, emotional control, and calm presence create the curiosity that pulls her back in. because this part is powerful, and most men never understand it. When you detach, you're not walking away from her. You're walking away from the emotional chaos that used to control you. You're stepping out of the mental fog. You're reclaiming your time, your breath, your peace, and she feels that shift even from a distance. Women pick up on emotional energy faster than words. They notice when a man is grounded, the same way they notice when he's spiraling. So when you stop reacting, when your emotions settle, when your presence becomes calm instead of chaotic, that's when her mind starts to turn. She thinks, why isn't he overwhelmed anymore? Why does he feel steady? What changed in him? Did he finally outgrow this? Did he stop needing me the way he used to? And here's the real trigger. Your emotional control forces her into self-reflection. Because silence from a man who used to overextend himself feels different. It hits differently. It creates a gap she didn't expect. It makes her compare who you were to who you're becoming. That's where curiosity starts. That's where respect grows. That's where attraction rebuilds. Not because you chased, but because you evolved. This is where your personal growth becomes magnetic. A man who can detach, not coldly, not bitterly, but with calm self-respect, naturally becomes more attractive. A man who can regulate himself becomes someone she feels safe around. A man who doesn't collapse under pressure becomes someone she sees as stable, reliable, grounded. And that presence, that emotional consistency, that's the part that pulls her back in stronger than any text message could. Because now she's not reacting to your old patterns. She's responding to your new discipline. She's sensing a version of you who's more intentional, more focused, more balanced, more masculine in his energy. She feels the difference, and that difference is what makes her wonder, did he just become the man I always hoped he'd turn into? And now the dynamic shifts, because her curiosity opens the door. But your growth is what keeps it open, which leads to the next part of this journey. When she finally tests the waters and reaches back out, how does a grounded man respond in a way that deepens the connection instead of slipping back into old habits? Let's break that down next. So now we've walked through every stage: the silence, her reactions, your mindset, your discipline, your emotional control, and the curiosity she feels when she senses your shift. But here's what it all comes down to. When she reaches out again, it's not because of a tactic. It's not because of a strategy. It's not because you played some perfect game. It's because you became a man who feels safe to return to, a man who stands on his own 2 feet, a man who doesn't crumble under emotional weight, a man who leads himself before he tries to lead anyone else. Your focus becomes attractive because it shows you have direction. Your personal growth becomes magnetic because it reflects discipline and self-respect. Your calm, masculine presence becomes the anchor because she feels the stability you've built from the inside out. This is the version of you she's drawn back to. Not the man who chased, not the man who panicked, not the man who needed her validation to feel whole. She comes back to the man who rebuilt himself in silence, the man who learned to breathe again, the man who stepped into his power without saying a word. Because real masculine attraction isn't loud. It isn't desperate. It isn't frantic. It's still, it's steady, it's intentional. A man who can detach without bitterness, hold space without fear, and move forward without losing his center. That is the man she trusts. That is the man she respects. That is the man she chooses again. And when she does come back into your life, it isn't a reward. It's a reflection of the man you became when nobody was watching. Final line, in the silence you didn't lose her, you found yourself, and that's what brings her back.